The first, and I get asked this question all the time, server sizing and config. How big should it be? How many cores do I need? How much memory? All of that stuff. And there's no hard and fast rule, I would say, that it's, other than to say, I mean, obviously, if you can throw infinite resources at it, then yeah, things will be great.
Yeah.
But what I generally tell people is at least 8 gigs of RAM per core. Now, some maybe 16. Like if you're all on DQM or you're using data sets, both of which are things I think you should be doing at this point, maybe 16 gigs of RAM per core. But at a minimum, I'd have 8.
Yeah.
And then I like to start. You can get by with 4 cores on an application server, but I like to start at 8 and go up as needed. So really, that's kind of the sizing I would put in place. And then luckily, most clients at this point are in some sort of cloud or virtualized environment where if we decide we need to double the RAM or add 4 more cores, it's not the end of the world. A very important point that I'm glad, Sonya, you always remind me of, because I sometimes get locked into this default mode of assuming everybody has named user licensing.
Right.
A lot of clients have PVU licensing. And so if you're one of those clients and say you're going from 10 to 11, you're going to find yourself in a situation where 11 really does need probably more cores than what 10 needed, but your licensing is going to constrain you. So you need to think about how to manage that. And I will tell you, like, if you find yourself in that situation, you can call us. We don't just do consulting. We do Cognos resell. We help people with licensing. And now is a good time of year to try to solve that. I mean, a pro tip would be, IBM and many other tech companies get very hungry at the end of Q4. And so if you are in this situation, you need to buy more PVUs. November and December are great times to have those conversations with your sales rep. And we can help you with that if you need it. A couple other points. Install on Two Directories. So typically, I would say Windows is on the C drive, Cognos is on the D drive. That's the way I couldn't even tell you exactly why you should do that. I don't think it's just the way I was taught to do it, and I think it avoids sometimes conflicts or read-write conflicts between the OS and Cognos itself. How much hard drive should you have? I would just say blanket rule, a minimum of 100 gig on that Cognos directory. So on the D drive, 100 gigs. You can go up from there. Really, what you want to avoid is the temp folder filling up and the data folder filling up. You will know something's wrong because Cognos will just start acting crazy. And you'll be like, what in the heck is happening? And then eventually you'll think, is the drive full? And it will be, right? And then the final thing, and then I'll turn it over to Sonya for some feedback on this, is just, you could, so the data directory, which is where data sets get moved to nowadays, just to give you 20 seconds of background, data sets live in the content store. Someone accesses a data set from the UI. It goes through and moves it to the data directory on the application server that's processing the query. That specific directory is going to have spillover from queries and from data sets that exceed the memory settings on your machine. So you could move just that to the highest speed hard drive available to you. And that is now a configuration in Cognos. So that's something you can specifically set. Where does the data directory live? And it can be different from the rest of the install. And so that would be the other thing that I would recommend you do here. Another thing, I think I meant to add it to this slide and I didn't, is just look at the query service and compute service RAM settings and bump those up potentially. So those are sizing recommendations. Sonya, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the PVU limitations, I feel like the last number of installs and upgrades I've done have kind of fallen in there. And so, if that is your limitation, sometimes you're better off with one machine versus 2. So that's another thing to consider. So, if failover isn't a critical, the must always be 100% up, we can go with, one more powerful machine versus, maybe 2 app servers, like we've done in the past. So there's a lot to be. This is one of those really tricky questions. We get asked all the time about how big your servers should be. And there are a ton of different things that have to come into play with this. So, if you're all kind of old school reporting, then it might be less important than, for some of these sizing things, then it matters um, if you're a looking at most of the new functionality. So that really does change kind of how we plan one of these installs and upgrades. We're going there. So a lot of different things that come into play with this one. So sadly, no nice, always do this
Yeah, I
answer.
would like to give you a clean answer,
Yeah,
but there
there's
just
really
isn't
isn't.
one.
Yeah. It's magic. You just have to guess sometimes. We've done a lot of testing on this. So like we've done upgrades where we have installed 2 and we see what the performance is like, and then we scale it back to 1, and then we bump that one up, and we like so, part of this it's a lot about what type of content you're doing and how it gets run and who's your user base, and is it all happening at the same time? Is it end of month? Is it all, is it interactive all the time? Is it really just scheduled jobs? Like there's a lot we can tune within here. But finding, like I said, this is, the the only easy answer is if you can throw more money at it, that usually helps, but that's not
Yeah,
always
right.
that's not the answer we like to go with, but that's kind of there's, the more like always go with the most you can kind of afford power-wise, and machine. That's the technical terms, but yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.